imagine me trying to open up the heritage room door with that key because it's a nightmare.
Have we begun recording?
We finally have started recording.
Cool.
You know, it's wonderful. Hi, everyone. Was that too chipper? If for, behind the scenes context, it'll make you wonder what we were talking about, but we needed a palate cleanser.
Oh my god.
Not all happy sunshine rainbows up in ADL.
Well, definitely not sunshines unless you want rainbows out of your vampires. But, I mean,
Wait,
Oh, sorry.
But what if I do? What if I want a Caroline Forbes, man?
Oh, I love... We're going to get there.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
Thank you.
Why do they have to sparkle? As my...
Oh, Lord.
I feel like we've already had this discussion.
We have. It's
Yes,
like 2 years ago.
And we have also...
A little over 2 years ago.
Yes, and you and I have already fought about the Force today. We don't need to fight about vampires. Come on.
We fought about midi-chlorians.
No, listen, I brought a snack.
She brought popcorn. We got to fight.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. Welcome, dear listeners, to our latest episode of Semi Bookish. Go around the room. Lord Ish, who are you?
I'm Grant.
What are you reading?
Good.
Tony.
I'm the supreme overlord of all. Hi, I'm Aaron.
AKA Aaron. And I am Andy. I like it when Grant says it. Can you say it for me?
Oh.
Dungeon Daddy.
We are
like
your stalwart crew of Semi Bookish.
Yes.
And we are on, we're getting up there.
This is episode 51.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it 51? Oh, all right. Cool.
But before we get into our topic for the week,
Mm-hmm.
what are you reading? Or watching? Playing?
Vibing to?
Cooking?
What? What? Yeah. What are you? What is entertaining you in the world of story?
In the world of story, I am reading Assumption by Percival Everett because it's next month's book club.
How are you enjoying Mr. Everett?
I'm liking it so far.
Who picked that one? What is
Megan.
that?
Megan.
Yeah.
Shout out to Megan for that pick.
Yeah.
If you want to come to book club, last Thursday of every month.
I've heard he's really good.
I'm liking it so far. From how she described it, this is kind of his most approachable
Okay.
one, which is probably why she chose it for
Yeah, I could see
book
that.
club.
I think it's also the one that's winning him an award of some kind. Is it the National Book Award? Something.
Is it recent?
It's recent. I think Assumption is recent. I might be wrong about that. Don't quote me.
But it's like a mystery detective noir type of thing.
Okay.
He's a cop in a rural community, and it's kind of split into three kind of connected vignettes. I've only read the first one so far.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
But I liked it.
All right.
And I'm listening to the audiobook of what is it? Immobility by Brian Evanson.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not super far in it, but I'm liking it. It's a post-apocalyptic tale. This guy's he's paraplegic. He was kind of in hibernation Fallout style for a while, and then they unstuck him, and he's carried everywhere by these people, and there's kind of an unnamed thing they need him for.
Sure.
Which I don't know quite yet, but yeah. So that's what I'm doing.
Cool. I am halfway through a 10-hour audiobook, so it's not really that long, but it's...
How many words would that be?
I don't know. I'm halfway through a book called Nova by Samuel R. Delany, which it's a 1960s science fiction novel. It's one of his early space operas.
If you're not reading Hog, I don't care.
Oh! You would be the one to prefer his porn to his space opera, but whatever.
Excuse me, this is a family-friendly podcast.
No, he did. I'm just saying, Samuel Delany went on a whole, at a certain point in his career, he was like, I'm going to write porn, and he did, just like Anne Rice, someone who we'll be discussing later, wanted to write porn, and she did.
It's the most horrifying pornography imaginable.
I have heard that from many people. I have heard that. I decided to start with his space operas because I'm on a space opera kick right now. And he is a, out and proud gay black man who was writing space opera when no one wanted space opera to be cool. It came out a few years after Dune. So anyway, my point is I'm reading Nova. I'm halfway through it. It's really, really, really interesting. I love the character of Lork von Ray, who is the black, well, biracial actually, but his mother is Senegalese. So he is a half African, half Norwegian, half Senegalese, half Norwegian starship captain who is going to a supernova because that's where the fuel that fuels their starships is richest, and it's also extremely dangerous, and so he has gathered another motley crew to take out on this journey. But he is also, fun fact, the character, when read by the notorious John W. Campbell,
The hero's journey guy? Or is that another Campbell?
no, that's Joseph Campbell.
Joseph Campbell,
John W.
okay.
Campbell is the guy who wrote the book that The Thing is based off of.
Ah, okay.
But he was also a infamous science fiction editor back in the day who read Nova and said the book is great, but I don't know if the audience is ready for a black male main character. So he passed on it because he was an idiot and he was also really racist. So anyway, Nova's good. You know, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars at this point. But you know, yeah, that's what I'm listening to, and I'm highly encouraging everyone just to finish off my very, very long rambling. If you have not seen Andor on Disney Plus, and yes, it is a Star Wars property. If you have not seen Andor, you're missing out. And I don't say that about much at all. And I, because everyone has their own tastes of things, but Andor is spectacular television. Spectacular storytelling. It is up there for me. So everyone should be watching Andor because it's that good.
I actually have a really quick TV show recommendation.
Yes, please.
Ooh.
If you have not seen, I mean, whether or not you're interested in video games, if you've not seen the Netflix cyberpunk anime,
It's
bonkers.
Is
it's
it okay?
crazy.
All right.
It's
I've heard that.
probably, like, as far as video game adaptations go, this is probably my favorite.
I think it's a lot better. So I think
Alright.
it's a lot better than the Dragon's Dogma adaptation that they did recently.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they did a Dragon's Dogma, like the game adaptation. They did a anime adaptation. It was more like a 3D adaptation to it.
Mm-hmm.
Not very good. I say it's good, but like as somebody who like religiously played the game,
Yeah.
a lot is missing out on that. And just play the game. But with the cyberpunk thing, definitely 10 out of 10. I've only seen like a couple episodes so far, so I'm not too far in there.
It does not dip in quality.
It does not dip in quality, and it is a very good like introduction to what the cyberpunk universe is supposed to be like for the game.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I will. Cyberpunk is one of the games I'm planning to buy when I get my new Xbox because I should be playing my new Arkham game, but thank you Xbox /Microsoft /Bill Gates. Go to MarsAlready.com. I'm currently not. So, Aaron, what entertainment is entertaining you?
Well, I can't tell you the one thing I'm actually gonna buy it when I get paid tomorrow. So
Same, girl. Same. Carry on.
So, playing wise, I came home. I'm playing Disney's Dreamlight Valley because they had an update for Halloween, and I can run around getting like little candies from like little containers while I'm running around. So I'm having a blast.
The one corporation that I would gladly sign up to go to Mars on their spaceship.
And I'm actually reading something from
Mars on
Life.
Ice.
I'm reading it's a manga. I have 2 mangas that I'm reading currently because I'm waiting for volume 3 to ship, and then
Yeah.
So while I'm waiting for volume 3, I'm reading another one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm currently reading a manga called The Sign of Affection, and it's like a cute little like romancy like shoujo style manga.
Yeah.
Basically, so the main character, her name's Yuki, and she's like into everything, but the caveat is that she's deaf. She can't hear whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And she mostly communicates by lip reading and sign language and texting people because not a lot of people know sign language where she is. Like, She even mentions in the manga to the main love interest that her parents don't even know sign language, and she literally has to write down and text her answers to them. Which is kind of a shame, but she meets this guy on the train, and then she immediately has this, like, what the heck is happening? My heart is like butterflies type moment. Turns out he also goes to school, the same college that she goes to, so they're a little bit older than your normal high schoolers, but they're in college.
Yeah.
He knows like 3 languages, but sign language isn't one of them, and so now he's intrigued because she and him are becoming friends. And he wants to learn sign language through her, and it's just very kind of fluffy, but
That's
also
adorable.
at the same time, he has a dream of going to different, like, underdeveloped countries and teaching. So there's kind of this, like, thing of, is she going to be a staple in his life? Is he going to let her in and they can go do these things together? Or is he just here for the ride to learn sign language to add another notch of a language under his belt? There's kind of like that kind of, what is it? But at the same time, you're like, I need you two to get together right now.
Yeah. That's really
I'm on
cool.
volume 2 right now. I'm waiting for volume 3 because I went to Barnes & Noble and they didn't have volume 3, so I have to order it online.
Sure.
Ugh. And then I'm also reading a manga called Imakoi, which is another kind of like romance-y manga.
Yeah.
The storyline is there's a girl, her name's Satomi, and she's very shy, and she never got to confess to her middle school crush at all, and like she was like very like about the whole entire thing. So she makes a pact to herself that the next time she's gonna get a crush, she's gonna just like tell them. And so this kid saves her from a pervert on the train, and so she immediately like crushes on him. Doesn't think she's gonna see him ever again, but they have the same school uniform, so she's never seen him. So she thinks maybe he's an upperclassman. He turns out to be in the same like year that she's in. And so she goes to thank him for like keeping her safe from the guy who was like literally like feeling her up on the train. Yeah. And that's a common thing.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
that is a Japan thing. But
No, never ride the bus in Japan.
as a female alone.
Good note.
But so she goes to thank him, and then as he's turning to leave, she like literally like confesses to him right then and there. Like she just like blurts it out in the middle of the hallway, and he's just like, okay, sure, now we're dating. And so she somehow is now dating this guy, and all she's done, she doesn't know anything about him except his name and the fact that she confessed to him, and he was like, sure, we're going out now, congratulations. And she's like, what do I do?
Cool. Huh.
I never thought I would get over a reading slump with manga, but here we go.
Well,
hey, you do whatever you
makes
need.
Perfect sense
Andy,
for you.
what are you reading?
I'm in a whirlwind of stuff right now, which is good because
because the last few podcasts.
hey, such is life. I just finished this morning. It's a reread, but I'm doing it for a very kind of inspirational purpose. Lois Lowry's Gathering Blue.
Oh yeah.
Which was still beautiful, still wonderful. Really appreciated it. If for anyone who's out there who doesn't know, if you appreciate The Giver, there's a quartet. There's The Giver, Gathering Blue, Messenger, and The Sun. All wonderful, wonderful books. I have my favorites, but I'll leave that on the cutting room floor because I don't want to influence people. But yeah, Gathering Blue, read it. It's wonderful and it's lovely. I'm almost done with A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. That's been back and forth. Like, I'm enjoying it, but I have to take a break for this purpose or I'm just exhausted.
Big book.
Yeah. I downloaded today. It's a book I'm reviewing.
You're reviewing it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm reviewing the audiobook. The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik.
Have you read the other two?
I've not yet, so I'm going to be a little bit lost.
Yeah, you should probably listen to the other two.
I'm fine with it.
Oh, okay.
Because that could be a little thing. Like, you jump into like a third, fourth book in the entry. Yeah, you might be a little bit confused.
Yeah.
But I think any good book, even if it's a sequel, should at least
be able to hold its own.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true.
And I'm also reviewing the audiobook, so it's not solely the book I'm reviewing.
Right, that's fair. Yeah.
So, but I'm really looking forward to that because it sounds quite intriguing.
I've heard that series is good. I've not read it, but
And if I like it, I'll go back and read.
Yeah.
I had the first one at home, but I just never opened it.
Nice.
But those are is there any extra media that I'm really getting into right now? Like I haven't even talked at length about this stuff. I figure at this people know Court and Mist and Fury. They know about the Aquatar, as the fandom calls it.
The Aquatar.
That look it up. It's expansive.
Bonkers.
The fandom
That's
is
the
devoted.
word you're looking for is bonkers.
The Giver is
Book
well
talk
established.
will-
I don't need to introduce you to that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm trying to think if there's anything else really. I feel like
There's a weird vacuum in, I don't want to say entertainment, but there's a weird vacuum in television right now because Rings of Power and House of the Dragon just, their finales just happened a week apart from each other. So I feel like I'm the lonely person on the island talking about Andor. I have a couple of people on social media who are like, yes, and I'm like, why is no one else watching this show?
Ironically enough, I had actually never seen any of the episodes of House of Dragon, and I prided myself on that. And then I went to go visit my friends, and they wanted to watch the finale, and so I watched the finale with absolutely no context.
Was it good?
The finale?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
It was trash.
Okay, that confirms, because I saw the first 4 episodes, and I was like, this show is getting worse, and I don't have to watch it.
So here's the thing, off topic, I guess, from our podcast topic, but my friends were talking about how, they started the first, 5 episodes, and it was supposed to be, years gaps in between things.
There are, yeah.
And they're supposed to be, because they were supposed to do, the whole entire thing in one season. That whole entire prequel book in one season. And then they turned around, and then they got signed on for, 5 more seasons, and so you hit, episode, 5 or something, and all of a sudden, everything just moves, at a snail's pace.
Oh, that's a weird choice.
It's a weird jump, they said. And I watched only the finale, and that's all I've ever watched. And I could tell you, as just somebody who does not watch a lot of television, but can gather context clues very fast, I knew exactly where they were going in certain moments, and exactly what was about to happen.
I will say this for the show, and this is not based on anything other than the 4 episodes that I watched, and all of the faces changing and all of the memes and things that I've seen in response. You have a bunch of people who identify as men writing what they consider to be a feminist take of Westeros. But all of the women, except with the exception of the oldest woman in the beginning of the show, are recast. Explain how Matt Smith doesn't age, but the rest of the cast
Does.
has to change. There you go with your Westerosi feminism. Go ahead.
Okay, that kind of
really
cheapens the
Go ham.
experience a little bit. I'm not really looking forward to watching the show anyway. But
Right.
that would be such a
You can wait
grumble.
until I buy
Right.
it, because it comes out the
see?
DVD comes out next month. And I'm
I'm not-
ordering it
yeah.
anyways, because I have to.
Let me okay, just to put a cap in this. Let me be clear. They should be able to do what they want to do, right? If this is how they want to do the show, if this is how they want to write this version of things, I don't care.
Yeah.
I got my Game of Thrones. They made their mistakes. I'm good. I don't care. Bran is the king. Sorry for y'all who haven't seen it. I'm good.
I just
I'm good.
after the
Did I
disaster.
literally just spoil that for you? Were you planning to finish it?
No, I have no intention.
Okay, thank God. Okay.
There's so many other things to be worried about. That's what's
It's
yeah.
true. So
Which is it was after the disaster that was season 8 or whatever. I'm not saying that the whole entire season 8 was bad, but it's just the disaster, the whole fiasco surrounding
everything.
season 8 in general.
Yeah.
I don't trust them to do that prequel justice whatsoever.
But honestly,
and from watching the little bits and pieces that I have and that finale,
yeah.
I feel like I'm right in the sense where I can't see it going very well in terms of.
But you know what?
Letting it go.
A lot of fans love it.
And I'm just like,
Like-
get better standards.
Well, we're being reeled back in.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was looking at it like, oh my gosh, we've gone on a tangent.
Speaking of
and it's
dragons.
a deserved tangent. I also, really quick, segueing into it, you talked about the vampire anime. Like, didn't you talk about like a Netflix show that vampires and anime?
Just like now?
Oh, like 5 minutes ago.
No, that was Cyberpunk.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something.
Anyway,
Or someone's
speaking
talking
of
about vampire
bloodthirsty
anime.
monsters, let's
Okay.
talk about vampires.
Capitalism?
Because I was going to bring up, as a vampire anime video game adaptation. I wanted to raise you that the Cyberpunk. That's a connection point.
Castlevania?
Castlevania as a Netflix series
It's also
is
very good.
exquisite.
Fantastic.
I've heard that.
Which, I mean, for those of you who don't know or don't play many video games, Castlevania is a retelling of the Dracula story, but instead of just the Jonathan Harker, everything, they throw in the Belmont family, which are a clan of vampire hunters that go after Dracula with of course, the usual accoutrements of holy water, stakes, boomerangs, where they're coming from. Holy boomerangs, mind you, they're crosses. And the infamous vampire killer whip, which, coupled with my love of Indiana Jones, like, whips are cool. All right. The Dungeon Daddy for nothing. But anyways, to put a fine point on it, we are talking about vampires in lit film and beyond, in video games as well, if we want to go that route.
Well, and beyond, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So let's start with the granddaddy of them all.
Dracula?
Yeah.
Meh.
Moving on. Okay.
Oh, no. Okay, all right. All I have to say about Dracula is the book is something I read a while ago and promptly forgot. I mean, I remember liking it, but it wasn't something that was like it didn't impress anything on my mind. And to take that further, because I've been thinking a lot about influences lately. I don't know that Dracula influences vampire culture at all anymore.
No.
I don't think that Bram Stoker's Dracula, strictly speaking, is in any way shaping the thoughts or vampire content or of even creators. I don't even think most people who sit down and go, oh, I'm going to create a vampire thing or a vampire legacy,
They try to
or whatever,
base it off of like
I don't think they think about Dracula at all.
They try to base it off of like Interview with the Vampire and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Anne Rice's influence is still huge.
It certainly got the ball rolling. Like,
yeah,
and then they're influenced by things that were influenced by.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So obviously, like, his influence has trickled down through other people who have, taken Dracula very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that the direct correlation is happening as much anymore.
No.
I mean, there's the real world lore of like people fearing vampires and people coming back, or, I mean, you can lump that together with a lot of the little zombie stuff and the like Salem witch trials, just like weird little things,
Just any
creeping
kind of
people out.
paranormal.
But yeah, Dracula, and I think in literature maybe, and you mentioned speaking of a movie thing, the modern vampire mythos or the template for modern vampires was birthed by Anne Rice, because even within the world of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, they stepped away from Dracula. They gave them a creation story, like a definitive creation story. They gave them, so like things like where like covens and families within Twilight or other popular media. I mean,
Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, obviously it all comes from Anne, because she was, when she started writing Interview with the Vampire, the kind of fiction that was popular, and the kind of fiction that was the kind of fiction you were supposed to write, was pedestrian realism. Which is, my family has gone through a divorce. Oh no, what will we ever do? I don't want to make light of the Jonathan Franzens of the literary landscape. They exist for a reason. And some of them are quite good. But, you can imagine being someone who wants to be taken seriously as a writer, calling her first story Interview with a Vampire, and people just going, oh God, what? But she gave that vampire psychosis, which was not a thing that had really been done before. Dracula doesn't, even in the novel, Dracula doesn't have a psychosis. He is the father of all evil. that's the whole point. I mean, it's like trying to give Sauron a psychosis. Like,
I mean, his 3 wives do, but he definitely doesn't.
yeah,
Although,
like Sauron doesn't, you know.
Although exploring Dracula just a little bit, throwing a couple different films into the mix.
Oh, sure.
What was it? Was it Luke Evans who was in Dracula Untold?
Yeah.
Which Game of Thrones connection? Tywin Lannister. What's his name? The actor's
Charles
name?
Dance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He was the vampire that created Dracula.
Of course he was.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Can you
But
imagine?
and that was actually a fun movie. Like, I didn't love it, but it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
We're going back a little bit. I think it was arguably about the same quality maybe as Dracula Untold, but Gerard Butler stars as Dracula in Dracula 2000.
Isn't Gary Oldman
Wait.
Dracula at some point?
Gary Oldman was Dracula.
No, Dracula 2000.
In Dracula
It's a specific movie. It came out in aptly named 2000.
Did it? Because I thought that.
Well, Gary Oldman is in.
He had Bram Stoker's
Bram
Dracula in
Stoker's
1992 or 93 or
Francis Ford
94.
Coppola.
It was later than that, wasn't it?
Well, she's going to verify.
Yeah, I
So
thought that.
Dracula 2000 has Gerard Butler as Dracula.
Okay.
Dracula 1992
Was it 1992?
Yeah.
I always
Has
thought it was later than that.
Gary Oldman as Dracula, but it also has
Keanu
Keanu
Reeves as Jonathan Harker. Yeah,
With,
and
with the greatest English accent of all time.
Yeah, it is also one of the most disturbing.
and also my love,
Um,
Winona Ryder.
It is one of the most disturbing sex scenes I've ever seen in my life. When Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker
Yeah.
is like covered in vampire women. At one point, I just was like, "This should be fine," because I'm getting to see, Keanu Reeves with no shirt on. This should be wonderful. And the implication, of course, is that he's naked because he's about to have sex with a bunch of female vampires. It should be fine. But it's not. It creeps me out. Like, I'm like, this is just weird because where's the line of control? And there's a huge thing to talk about with vampires, and because, with Twilight and vampire romances and paranormal romances and how that's taken shape in our, culture.
Quick shout out. Hold on. I have to jump in there just because we were talking about it. I was listening to the Ferndale Area District Library podcast, A Little Too Quiet. Shout out Jeff Milo if you're listening.
Yeah.
And your recent Keanu Reeves podcast, I'm going to agree with y'all that you were discussing that Keanu Reeves should not have been one of the Harker, in that he should have been one of the romantic suitors in that film. You remember there was the little...
Yeah, I don't agree with
and
him
then
on that.
Carrie Ewell's... Who's butcher his last
Carrie
name?
Elwes?
Yeah. He should have been Harker.
So we're tagging
Was he
Ferndale
in that
on this,
movie?
right?
He was one of the... I think, was he the guy from Texas, maybe? I'd have to go back and watch it. Or look it up on IMDb, but I'm not going to do that right now. But,
I honestly, I get Carrie because people, Princess Bride, which,
yeah.
the public can shoot me in the street corner somewhere for saying that it's really not that great. Moving on, I feel like, and part of the reason I don't think that movie's that great is because I don't feel like Carrie carries movies very well. Which is why he should not have been Jonathan Harker, because you have to go up against Gary Oldman. Like, come on.
Well,
Most people.
I don't think even a good Harker is going to really bring it up.
Next to Gary Oldman. Yeah.
Right. It's like, come on. Yeah. Sorry.
But we did have Hopkins as Von Helsing.
Ooh, yes.
Truth.
That's
Quick
Hopkins.
digression, because I started talking about Dracula 2000. I want to bring up how they reestablished the Dracula mythos, which Dracula in this film is Judas Iscariot. And the 30 pieces of silver are why silver hurts him. Garlic doesn't do a thing, if memory serves, in this movie. Yeah. But it was an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And I like to go back and watch it every now and then because it is a fun film.
I have not seen that one, honestly. I don't know. I feel like... vampires. Yeah.
So there are... Oh, go ahead.
I recently saw a really good vampire movie. I think I told Andy about it the other day.
Which one?
Near Dark. It's
Ooh,
not.
I
It's
haven't
not.
seen
It's not
that
new
one.
or anything. It's from the late '80s, early '90s. I'm not sure exactly which year. It's one of Catherine Bigelow's first movies.
Oh, okay.
But if you ever want to see Bill Paxton eat up scenery as a Southern vampire serial killer type deal, it's
you mean
insane.
other than the entire television show where he was isn't Bill Paxton the... No, maybe he's not. I'm thinking of someone else. Is he the True Blood guy?
No.
No. There's a guy
Steve
that
Moyer as Bill Compton.
Thank you, Bill Compton. Oh,
See,
yeah.
the last vampire thing that I actually saw was What We Do in the Shadows.
Which is also very good.
Is it good?
In a different way.
Yeah,
Okay, I've heard
absolutely.
it's really good. Okay.
So, would tell you to watch the movie first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Before you watch the show, watch the movie first because it gives you a lot of context into
Okay.
into the style of the show that they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely a very much like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's very much like a Parks and Rec's Office style
Okay.
vampire
cool.
show.
Yeah.
Where it follows around 4 vampires. It's 3, but there's an extra. I'll explain in a second.
It's vampires, of course there is.
There's 4 vampires and then their manservant. And they live in a house with their, just like in the middle of the city, and I don't remember which city it is.
Pennsylvania. No, I'm kidding.
It's in, what's the country?
I don't even
New Zealand.
Right?
Is it New
Right?
Zealand?
What?
What?
I think it's New Zealand some of the actors are from New Zealand, so maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. What We Do in the Shadows is set in Staten Island.
Oh, Staten.
So they're in the middle of Staten Island in a house
What?
with vampires. And,
Okay.
it follows them around kind of like documentary style. So sometimes you'll have like them like talking to the camera as if they're like talking to the person behind the camera, going like, "So this is what this is about, and we used to do this all the time." And they have the accents like they're from like Slovakia.
Well, okay.
I think some of like the funniest part of the movie for me is their kind of rivalry with the werewolves.
Yeah, there's a rivalry with the werewolves. And it makes absolutely all the sense in the world, but no sense at the same time. Because the whole entire battle scene is them just standing in a park and facing each other.
Okay.
Meanwhile, there's the 4th vampire isn't an actual vampire. He's called an energy vampire.
Oh, energy. Okay, right, yeah.
And so he just
actually,
lives in the house, and it's hilarious.
Oh.
I was going to throw out there that we have the variations of vampires within Stephen King. It, the clown, Pennywise from It,
It's also a form of a vampire.
is a vampire.
Really?
Yeah.
Within that world.
Isn't there a vampire later on in the Dark Tower series?
There is. That,
kind of.
They feed, of course, they rather than drain blood, they do feed on the bodies of their victims. But, like, the reason the Pennywise, it seasons their meal by making them feel afraid. In the Dark Tower,
Oh, fear. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's like a thing for them. The one in the Dark Tower wants them to laugh as they die.
It adds a little bit of flavor. We need to put some cayenne pepper
It's
on
like the
this.
little meme with the guy with sunglasses, white tee, sprinkling salt.
Get some nutmeg over top of that.
Salt Bay, I believe is his name.
Salt Bay. Thank you. It's been a while since I've seen it to be. But yeah, so it's...
Oh, God. That's funny. Okay. So I have to ask, this is a totally self-serving question. What interpretation or who or whatever, favorite vampire, the universe, interpretation, creator,
Spike.
go.
Wait,
You
favorite
would.
the creator
You
or
would.
the...
Like all of the above.
writer
like
or-
answer however you want. It can be universe, it can be writer, it can be, what have you. Character even. Yeah. It would be Spike.
I have to say that I gotta like blend to the reimagining of Castlevania that came out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Lords of Shadow.
Okay.
There were like the Lords of Shadow were 3 different. There's like the Lord of the Vampires, the Lord of the Lord of the Werewolves, and what was the other one? I had to go back and play it, but I can remember like who it was in the game, but I can't remember what their specific skill set. Like Lord of the Necromancers, and like Simon Belmont was this a brother in the Order of the Brotherhood of Light, but then this holy warrior like paladins set to go out hunt the vampires. The Belmont, he's a Belmont, but not like the Belmont yet.
Right.
Well, as the game progresses, you're gaining the abilities of these like, supernatural creatures that you fight, and near the end of the game, like you have to fight Satan. Spoiler alert. And
The game's been out forever.
I mean, Satan usually comes up and talks to vampires.
And there's even like this at one point where like it's DLC related, but you, in order to beat this demon that got released after the death of the Lords of Shadow. This one extraplanar demon got released, and in order to fight them, you have to work with this lower tier vampire that turns you into a vampire. Mm-hmm. You're a Belmont that gets turned into a vampire, and people, playing the game are like, no! Mm. But the Belmont becomes the first, Dracula. He becomes the villain of the series in this twist. Yeah. And all of that's why his family is destined to fight him. Mm. But Castlevania, as a general rule, I love Dracula within that. Mm-hmm. Or the vampires within that.
The world building of that is so good.
I also really, really, really thrive on anything Vampire Chronicles. Right. I enjoyed the last couple books in the Vampire Chronicles series, but I have to really they took a sci-fi twist that I wasn't ready for. I'm like, do I hate it or do I like it? It was interesting. I ate it right up, but was it a good decision?
Were those the Prince Lestat books that she was doing at the end?
Yeah, the Realms of Atlantis.
Yeah.
But so Anne Rice, Castlevania are probably my favorite variations of the vampire. Okay. Which one is funny because it clearly has ties to Dracula, and the other does not.
I think they both have ties to Dracula. She's.
Well, within the narrative of their.
Oh right, as in I know you mean, but she's. Dracula's a huge influence.
Yeah.
Although she said that Camille is really more of an influence than Dracula for obvious reasons, but yeah. Grant.
It's fresh in my mind, so I kind of want to see an expanded world of Near Dark vampires, where they're like a ragtag. Backwoods type of vampire clan.
Oh, I love that.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and just going from place to place or whatever.
Like True Blood, but less sexy.
Yeah, sure. I haven't seen True Blood, so I know its reputation.
Yeah, it's about as backwoods vampire as you can get.
The whole entire thing is just spice.
That's
So I wish there was
Lafayette though. Kudos, man. Lafayette's the shiznit.
I agree.
I wish there was more in the world of Near Dark, but. If I were to be a vampire in a vampire world, I'd be more of a classic vampire, living in a tower or a castle or something.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Big,
Yeah. So you would be Dracula.
I would be Dracula.
Yeah. Because anyway. Aaron.
All right. So I know I mentioned Spike earlier, but
you did say Spike.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
So I do as much of a problem I do have with her as an author and Julie Plec in general. I do like the Vampire Diaries way of world building it.
Okay, yeah.
As much as
the show or the books? Because I know they're.
I like the
very
show
different.
a little bit better than the books, just because the books Elena is a pick-me in general, and I just hate her.
I hate Elena altogether.
We all hate Elena. Let's just I'll put that out there.
Every time Catherine shows up, I'm like, eat her, and then they're like, surprise, doppelgangers need each other, and I'm like, really? Is this so that you, the writers, can't kill Elena? Because.
Yeah,
we need you
pretty
to kill
much.
Elena.
But the rest of the characters, I feel the world building with those characters, and I especially loved the originals, in the way that they built up the family, and they gave a lot of context to, and for those who don't know, basically the originals are
I have our smack now, by the way.
There's 3 of them. There's 2 of them now. So congrats.
Yeah.
I will take yours. But there's I think it's 5. Yeah, it's 5 siblings. Technically there's 6, but that's a whole other issue all in itself. But there's 5 siblings, and long time ago when they were younger or whatever, werewolves were technically still around, and they were part of the original supernatural creatures, and witches. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the 6th sibling, who's the youngest, died in a werewolf attack.
Which is why there's the war between them.
Which is why there's a war between the 2 of them. But there's another piece to why there's a war in between the 2 of them.
Because of course there is.
Yeah. And so the mom of the family, whose name always escapes me, I believe it's Eleanor or something, and don't ask me or something. It starts with an E, and I literally don't care because she's just one of those characters. But the mom turns around and basically, through a witch ritual, because she is a witch at the time, turns her whole entire family into vampires, which is considered technically against the witch's code because they're natural abominations at that point. Mm-hmm. And she immediately regrets this. Like, she makes them, like, all vampires, even the dad. And at first, it's fine, they're vampires, but they're very bloodthirsty, and she begins to realize why she, like, does not want them to be alive, which is the whole entire, like, plot line of part of, like, seasons, like, 2, I think, of Vampire Diaries, where, she turns around, she doesn't like them like this anymore, and then Klaus, who's, like, one of the main villains in the whole entire show in general, and the main character of the originals, we love him. Turns out Mom was not very faithful to Dad, and had an affair with one of the werewolves, so he's technically what's called the original hybrid. So he has this ability to shift into a werewolf because of the fact that to trigger the genetic werewolf gene, you have to kill somebody to be able to trigger this. Yeah. And so when he becomes a vampire, he inevitably... You check something out during... Okay, whatever. But he inevitably triggers the gene when he becomes a vampire and kills his first person for, sustenance or whatever. Yeah. And then the dad finds out because he turns into a werewolf, and none of them are werewolves. They were all witches before this. Yeah. And so now the dad has this vendetta, and he wants to kill Klaus. Meanwhile, the mom... Shut up. Meanwhile, the mom wants to, like, kill all the rest of the siblings because, surprise, I made abominations and now I have to get rid of them.
It's very vampire-y plot.
And so, in her whole entire thing, she locks away Klaus's werewolf side so he can't transform at will, which is what he should originally be able to do as a hybrid. And so he is basically... forced to change every single full moon, and he doesn't want that. And there's a stone that his mom made to lock away the whole entire thing, and he has to destroy the stone, and it's using the blood of the doppelganger to be able to do this, which is why we have Elena, which hate Elena, everyone hates Elena. Love the world building though, because it gives a lot of...
the world is really fast.
It's very full. Yeah, it's but I do like the way that the Buffy vampires are just a little bit more in terms of like...
I need to give Buffy another go. I haven't done that one.
In terms of how they act, because they're kind of constrained by they can't go out in the sunlight, they can't they're like constrained. Yeah. Whereas in Vampire Diaries, they get their
They cheat.
Vampire
Diaries
They immediately get their
because they start you off with the whole deal. Because Elena is going to it's Twilight, but
like the thing
with bigger world building initially. Like it starts off very small. Like human girl goes to school, figures out that one of the the boy that she's falling in love with is a vampire, and blah blah blah. And it's that constrained thing. And then his toxic brother shows up, and you're like, oh. Okay. And the toxic brother is like, well, he's not really a real vampire because real vampires can't go out in sunlight, but my brother likes to cavort with witches. And like, you get a lot of world building through snark, and it's great. But then they start cheating and going, now all the vampires can walk around in sunlight because the most powerful witch, who happens to be Elena's best friend Bonnie,
can give them all rings to be able to do it.
Performed a nonsense spell. Like, you're like...
Well, can I talk about cheating? That little thing. Okay.
Not yet.
Wait, no.
Because I haven't given you my vampire.
I want to know your vampires first.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
So my favorite of all the vampire lores is Bleach's vampires.
Ooh.
Okay.
There's an entire arc. No, not Ichigo, but there's an entire arc known as the Bount arc.
Okay.
That everybody who watches Bleach skips because they're like, it's a filler arc, which, by the way, Bleach fans, it's all filler. Like, it's all filler.
Read the manga instead.
Like, it's annoying how people are like, it's a filler. Yes, it's a filler arc, but it's brilliant. Anyway, the Bount arc is about these beings that were created by the Soul Society.
Fair.
They were basically an aberration. They were a scientific aberration that was not supposed to happen in the regeneration of the life cycle. These beings, known as Bounts, who had, like, supernatural... they have vampire powers, basically. except that they can walk around in sunlight. But they develop these vampire powers in the cycle of regeneration. So walking around in our world are these creatures known as Bounce. And the Bounce created a law for themselves to stay on a good side with the Soul Society, which was that they were not going to take human life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Soul Society was like, we pulled an oopsie, kill all Bounce. Because the Soul Society is a corrupted Jedi Order, which...
We all know this if you watch Bleach.
Okay.
They're terrifying and awful. But basically they're like, yeah, so kill all the Bounce. So they issue a kill order on the Bounce. They kill most of the Bounce. And only like a tiny, tiny group of them survives. So there's this small tribe that hasn't been heard of or seen forever because of that one rule. Like, we will not, eat humans. Because when they eat humans, they gain, like, greater powers and strengths. And they have these things called dolls, which are basically otherworldly beings. Mm-hmm. Like, the best way to describe them would be demons, because demons are always otherworldly and are supernatural. But they're not really technically demons. They're just, like, otherworldly creatures or spirits that move into the world over the course of a spell. And infect like an item. So It can be like a ring or
so
like
they possess something,
talisman.
basically.
They possess something, and whenever the Bounce wants to be protected or needs to fight, they can call forth this doll to do the battling for them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And they're like, they share, like, the doll shares the vampire powers, and the vampire shares, like,
it's how they circumvent killing humans.
It's a really, really cool, like, factor, especially when you have to fight Soul Reapers.
That's a cool, like, workaround.
Yeah, and so when I first saw the Bounce arc, I was like, these are the coolest vampires I've ever seen in my life, because it was something new. I'd never seen that done with vampires before. And all of the dolls, in order to summon dolls, you have to use a German term. Like, the spells are just basically German.
Okay.
German words. Yeah. And I was just like... And all of the dolls have names like Gerda, like that's a very German. I was just like, oh my god, they were even using German. Like it's so.
It makes so much sense.
It's so cool.
This is in Bleach.
Yeah,
yes.
And you can watch, the thing about the Bounce arc is you can watch the Bounce arc and not watch any other part of Bleach and completely understand how the universe of Bleach works, which is much better than season 1, because season 1 is boring.
Season 1 just never makes sense.
No,
you just really want to skip season 1.
It's dull. So if you want to get into Bleach, watch the Bounce arc, because you're also going to get some kick-ass vampires. So,
But in terms of the anime, don't we have a lot, too?
We have the manga.
We have the manga.
Oh, the
A
manga.
ton of the manga. The Bounce never show up.
Anime.
Yeah, the Bounce never show up in the manga. They were an invention of the anime.
Oh, okay.
Listen, it's in my list of things to buy.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, I had, those are my,
We're on a Bleach renaissance here.
I mean, it kind of makes me want to watch now.
Yeah, you should.
Crunchyroll.
Yeah. It's
Crunchyroll.
It's really, really good. It's also on Hulu.
Oh,
if you
perfect.
Have to look at it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Really quick, the cheat thing, because it's chomping at the bit with it, because of what you're talking about.
Yes.
I love Blade.
Yes.
I love Blade, both comics and the Wesley Snipes films. The first is the best. The second one I really enjoy. The third one, the less said, the better. However, we're going to go back in time to that first one.
Yeah.
There is a point where Stephen Dorff's character, like, Blade is called the Daywalker because he inherited quite a few of the powers and abilities, but none of the curses. Being a vampire, something happened to him.
It's called melanin.
Fair, but no, like the other vampires, they develop a. I'd have to go back and watch this, but it made me so angry watching it, even the first time. Like, y'all vampires are gonna like come out in the sun with sunscreen.
Oh yeah.
Like, do you remember this now?
Yeah, I do.
Like, he's in there. Yeah, we got rubbing it on his, like, to get out.
But I think actually in the movie, I may be misremembering this. Doesn't he have a serum? He has to get a serum
to suppress his. That's
Blade's
character.
To
suppress his blood.
To suppress the. Yes, that's it. Yeah. So, because one of the cool facets about the Blade, about that film, the first film anyway, is that he gets that serum from the African American community because Blade himself is black.
Yeah.
So the person who develops the serum, the place where he goes to get the serum, is from a black person in the black section of, like, the ghetto of that city. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be a ghetto if it's black, but you know what I mean? It's a very 90s movie. So of course it's the ghetto. But that's the thing to me that sold me completely. It's one of the reasons. If you ever really, this is a sidebar, not really. If you ever want to understand my love for Catwoman, watch Blade and Catwoman together because they are almost identically the same film.
Wait, the Halle Berry?
Yes, the Halle Berry Catwoman. Okay. Because I think the reason a lot of people don't like that movie is because it is not the Batman's Catwoman.
Yeah.
I fully engage with that. Like, no, that is not a Batman universe Catwoman.
That is not Batman's wife. You can leave that alone.
That's not Batman's Catwoman. But it feels so similar to Blade in so many of the choices that they make in that movie that I'm like, I'm here. Like, I'm so down. Even that weird, like, stupid, like, Catwoman basically gets her powers because she underwent a spell or something from a weird psychic. It's stupid, but it's Blade, and I love it.
Well, as a criticism at Catwoman as a general thing, it was the Michelle Pfeiffer becoming a cat persona in Batman Returns, and I love Batman Returns.
I really liked that she did that.
She fell through a window, and that she survived, but it was a little weird.
It was weird.
It was a little weird. I like it, but I don't like it
Tim
at the same time. Yeah. Tim Burton-y. We'll go with that.
Well, also, why has Tim Burton's made a vampire movie, right? Or am I misremembering that?
I don't think he has.
He is making a new one.
Didn't he make the Dark Shadows movie?
Oh, yep, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I feel is underrated.
Is it?
I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, because remember Dark Shadows was like a thing for a minute, like in the 90s. When was Dark Shadows out? The TV show.
It was like the 60s, something like that.
Oh,
in black and white.
Right?
Oh, okay. No, but there was a Jessica Alba Dark Shadows.
Well, maybe there was.
I don't. I mean, I remember it kind of, but I don't really remember
Jessica
it.
Alba got her start like as the Dark Shadows person.
I only know about the old one.
I got to reel us in for a little bit, and this is for Erin's benefit because she is going upstairs. She has to leave us a few minutes early today.
Go meet with the vampires. I mean, our employers.
They suck our very life forces out of us. Please don't fire us.
We're more than happy to give them our life.
I disown all of this conversation. Continue.
Yes, see, there again, vampires and consensual. Consent.
Anyways, Andy.
Anyway.
What is our... Do you have a... Wait.
Give us our smack.
You have a smack.
I have a smack.
Smack us both.
It is a Vampire Diaries smack, unless you want me to go more wide-ranging.
I have never seen the Vampire Diaries, but...
Give it to me.
Nor have I.
You guys can...
Alright, so let me go with the wide-ranging.
Because I do have another one.
Alright, I'm going to go with the wide-ranging one then. Klaus.
Okay.
Lestat. Or Edward.
You know, ironically enough, this was very similar to what mine was.
No, I change it. Not Edward. Carlisle.
Carlisle?
Yeah. Klaus, Lestat, and Carlisle.
Considering I've never seen Interview with a Vampire, I'll just get rid of Lestat now. I've broken Tony, by the way.
Klaus is from Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep Klaus.
He's really hot.
Yeah, we're keeping Klaus. Specifically because he doesn't die for like ever.
Randomly kill Lestat. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to marry Carlisle because I feel like he'd take good care of me.
He would take...
Whether a human or he turns me later,
I like
he's going to take care of me.
He would take good care.
Oh,
yeah.
Come here, Lestat.
So are
Give
you
me some of this.
marrying Carlisle then?
No.
Or not marrying? You're marrying Klaus then?
Yeah, I like my humans toxic.
That's fair.
We
I'm
all
gonna
know
kill
this.
Klaus.
We all know this about me.
You're gonna kill Klaus?
Oh, good luck! Dude.
Well, but
because
having
grew
a
up
night in the hay with Lestat, you might convince Lestat to kill Klaus.
Yeah.
You know.
You might, but like I feel like if you have a row with Klaus as well, you could also convince him to kill Lestat as well. Either or.
Well, Lestat in narrative.
But if you're married to Klaus,
he's
you
the devil,
can convince him to get rid of
Lestat,
any of them.
Lestat is.
He met Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Lestat is like he's pretty top tier.
Yeah.
I like my vampires how I like my book characters, and that's toxic.
No, that's fair. No. That's
Yeah.
fair.
Hey.
Oh, okay. So
and with that, I'm leaving.
For me, I would marry Carlisle because Carlisle's fantastic.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I would actually have to kill Lestat as hard as that is for me because. Well, I don't know.
Are you basing the hotness of Klaus on what he looks like in the film or the show?
Klaus is so hot. I don't know that he shows up in the books, the Vampire Diaries books. I don't know that he's a character, but he's so hot.
Yeah.
I reject your guys' Premise, and I will go with Nick Cage and Vampire's Kiss.
I've never seen that movie.
It's worth it.
Is it?
For his performance.
It's
really.
It's.
You're telling me a movie is worth it for Nick Cage's performance?
I'm
finding that hard to believe.
I would struggle with Kiefer Sutherland in The Lost Boys. He's a snack.
Agreed. Also, The Lost Boys is a must-see. Everyone should see Lost Boys. It's a fantastic movie. And that's one that should have deeper influence. Like, we need more Lost Boys influenced.
On that note, for years after, I was carefully inspecting my fried rice and my lo mein noodles because of that film.
Oh my god! I didn't even look.
Boys?
Yeah. Yes. Have you seen it, right? I'm sorry. Grant.
I'm sorry.
Grant.
Should I stream it tonight? Okay.
With no further delay. And I don't say this to you about anything because I understand tastes vary. Lost Boys is a veritable classic for a reason.
For many reasons.
Yes, and I'm not.
It features the Coreys. Number one, the Coreys are in it.
Yes.
It features, a pretty good cast of others too.
Both Feldman and
Haim.
Yeah. And
good music. It's and I can't. Was it a late '80s or early '90s?
On Amazon Prime.
Late '80s, I believe.
Because it was in that weird transitional period where you can, if you said 91, I believe you. Say 89, I believe you.
Yeah,
because it's so flavor wise, very much part of both decades.
It is. It may have been as late as 92.
And hot guy sax solo. I still believe. Remember he's playing in the little festival at the beginning.
That movie is
soundtrack was top tier.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's.
I'll let you know.
It is a very.
Sisters of Mercy, Cry Little Sister.
Nice.
Was such a choice song.
Yeah, it's a. Wow, I need to watch it again. It's been a decade.
They did have a couple sequels out, but I feel like my friend Darius is going to materialize, slap me for even legitimizing the sequels to Lost Boy. Because they were so... There's like 2 of them.
Well, just make sure you cut before that. So he doesn't hear.
No, I want him to hear.
Sisters of Mercy seems like a very vampire band.
Yeah, we didn't even get to like vampire bands. Maybe we should do a part 2.
Actually, I feel like this vampire discussion, like... Because I had a template, but then it just went off the rails. But it was a good thing because we're all like talking about this, that, vampire related. Because it's such a big world.
It's massive. And I'm disappointed right now because I feel like vampires need to come back to rescue us from the current.
The current what?
What?
I'm complaining. This is a James Gunn relative complaint.
Okay.
But this is also a Warner Brothers relative complaint. I feel like we are in danger of. No, we're already there. The universe theory thing where every studio wants a major interconnected universe that I'm like it's like the franchise thing was already worrying, right? M. Night Shyamalan coming in and being like, I'm going to create Avatar: The Last Airbender because I want a franchise in my hands. That's bad enough, right?
Yeah.
But that we kind of got past that and moved into this whole it's like the 2.0 version, which is like we are one of